Fed up, Oscar De La Hoya finally snaps and attacks Jake Paul, and trust me, it's a meltdown Jake never saw coming. So, Jake's been on his usual trash-talking spree, humiliating fighters left and right, and someone had the bright idea to ask him what he thinks about Oscar. Jake, being Jake, spewed out a bunch of brash words thinking he could just walk away unscathed. But, oh no, he forgot who he was messing with. Oscar De La Hoya is not the kind of guy to sit back and let that slide. He loves controversy as much as the next guy, and the way he clapped back at Jake is absolutely wild. You won't believe what he's exposed about Jake. And believe me, the entire boxing world is in absolute chaos after this unexpected showdown between the legendary Oscar De La Hoya and the YouTuber-turned-boxer Jake Paul. I mean, Oscar De La Hoya isn't just any boxer. He's a living legend, a guy who's snagged world titles in 6 weight classes. And now he's also a top-tier promoter and mentor. He's the guy who's been guiding young talents like Ryan Garcia to greatness with all his wisdom and experience. But then there's Jake Paul. He's a completely different beast. He bulldozed his way into the boxing scene straight from YouTube, using his massive following to build a career that's as controversial as it is successful. Jake's brash, loud, and all about self-promotion, which rubs a lot of traditional boxing fans the wrong way. Sure, he's had some wins, but the flashy demeanor and choice of opponents haven't exactly won over the purists. So the tension between De La Hoya and Paul has been simmering for a while, but it blew up spectacularly just before Jake's big fight. Oscar, clearly fed up, tore into Jake, and this wasn't a minor diss. It was a full-on verbal smackdown that rocked the boxing community.
And Jake Paul trying to climb the ladder through Mike Tyson, it's not a good look for him.
The timing was brutal. Jake was on the verge of one of his biggest fights, and Oscar's words cast a massive shadow over everything. Fans and analysts were left scrambling, trying to make sense of the bombshell Oscar had dropped. Social media went nuts, with reactions flooding in from every corner of the boxing world. What makes this even juicier is Oscar's role as a promoter. He's not just a retired champ, he's actively shaping boxing's future through his fighters. He's always been about nurturing young talent and keeping the sport's integrity intact. So when someone like Oscar lashes out, it's not just some personal beef, it's a big statement about the state of boxing itself.
I think Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, look, it's one of those fights where, again, the world's gonna watch. It's gonna create new eyeballs for boxing. It's gonna create a lot of news all over the world. But I stick to my message, and that is, if Jake Paul wants to take this sport serious, then he should be fighting young guys who are top 15.
Meanwhile, Jake represents this new wave of boxing that's part sport, part entertainment spectacle. His fights pull in huge crowds, but his methods often ruffle feathers. Jake's rise has been meteoric, but also drenched in controversy. From picking fights with older, less competitive opponents to his provocative social media antics, he's a master at staying in the spotlight, even if it means bending the traditional rules of the sport. Oscar's attack throws a spotlight on the clash between old-school boxing values and Jake's more commercialized, flashy approach. It's not just a personality clash, it's a battle of ideologies. Oscar's words hit home for those who believe Jake's antics undermine the sport's credibility, while Jake's fans argue he's injecting some much-needed excitement into boxing.
Not heroes and legends like Mike Tyson.
This bombshell dropped on July 28, 2024, during what was supposed to be a run-of-the-mill press conference to promote a fight for one of Oscar's protégés. But interestingly, it turned into a scorching roast of Jake Paul that left everyone in the room slack-jawed. Oscar did not pull any punches. He went in hard, calling Jake ill-mannered and an idiot, sparking a firestorm of controversy. These weren't just some throwaway insults. They were precision strikes aimed right at Jake's credibility as a boxer. Oscar, usually the picture of poise and professionalism, had clearly hit his breaking point. He laid it out there that Jake's antics were not just an embarrassment to individual fighters, but a threat to the very soul of boxing. Oscar's words were sharp and deliberate. He didn't just throw shade, he brought receipts. He pointed to specific instances where Jake's behavior crossed the line. Remember Jake's press conference? The one where he called Ben Askren a washed-up has-been? Yeah, Oscar brought that up, slamming Jake for his disrespectful comments and pre-fight antics. According to Oscar, this kind of behavior is completely unbecoming of someone who claims to represent the sport. The impact was immediate and intense. The boxing community, already split over Jake's presence in the sport, went into overdrive. Prominent figures in boxing were quick to weigh in, and the opinions were all over the map. Freddie Roach, the legendary trainer, was all in with Oscar. In an ESPN interview, Roach said, "Oscar's right. We need to preserve the dignity of this sport. Jake Paul's antics are nothing but a sideshow." Roach's words echoed the thoughts of many traditionalists who believe Jake's showboating undermines boxing's legitimacy. But then you had Eddie Hearn, the big-time promoter, taking a more balanced view. In a Sky Sports interview, Hearn remarked, "Jake Paul has brought new eyes to the sport. While I don't agree with everything he does, we can't ignore the fact that he's attracting a younger audience." Hearn's comments highlighted the growing divide in the boxing world. Some see Jake as a much-needed disruptor, while others view him as a menace to the sport's integrity. Boxers themselves weren't staying quiet. Gervonta Davis, always outspoken, tweeted on July 30th, 2024, "Oscar speaking facts, we need real fighters, not YouTubers pretending to be pros." His tweet blew up, getting over 50,000 likes and retweets from several other pros, showing a significant faction within the sport siding with Oscar. But not everyone was on the same page. Ryan Garcia, Oscar's own protege, offered a more nuanced view. During an Instagram Live, Ryan said, "I respect Oscar a lot, but Jake's doing his thing. He's bringing attention to boxing, and that's not entirely bad. We need to find a balance." Ryan's take reflected the complexity of the situation, acknowledging both the positive and negative aspects of Jake's impact on the sport. And if we seriously talk about this problem child, Jake Paul, we have to start at the beginning. Initially, Jake was just another YouTube prankster, amassing millions of followers with his outrageous videos and antics. But then in 2018, he shocked everyone by announcing he was stepping into the boxing ring. His first fight was on August 25, 2018, against fellow YouTuber Deji Olatunji. It was an undercard for his brother Logan Paul's fight against KSI. Jake won by TKO in the 5th round, and just like that, his boxing career was born. Since then, Jake has been very strategic about his fight choices. He's been picking opponents who generate a lot of buzz, but also spark debates about his legitimacy as a boxer. His second professional fight on January 30, 2020, was against Ann Easongib, another YouTuber. Jake won by TKO in the 1st round. This fight set the tone for Jake's strategy, picking famous but not necessarily skilled opponents. Jake's fight history is like a roadmap of carefully chosen, less competitive opponents. Take his fight on November 28, 2020, against Nate Robinson, a former NBA player with zero boxing experience. Jake knocked him out in the 2nd round, but critics were quick to point out the mismatch. Then, on April 17, 2021, Jake fought Ben Askren, a former UFC fighter. Again, Jake won by TKO in the 1st round, furthering the narrative that he's dodging tougher competition. Most recently, on July 20, 2024, Jake fought Mike Perry, another former UFC fighter. Jake won by TKO in the 6th round, but this victory was dripping in controversy. The referee stopped the fight, claiming Perry couldn't defend himself effectively. While technically within the rules, many fans and analysts raised eyebrows. They questioned the referee's impartiality, speculating that he might have been influenced or bribed to favor Jake. This isn't a new suspicion in the boxing world. In Jake Paul's case, the consistent TKO victories raise some eyebrows. Many of his wins come through referee stoppages rather than clear knockouts, fueling suspicions. Critics argue that these stoppages often seem premature, suggesting referees might be overly cautious or influenced by external factors. Jake's approach paints a picture of a fighter who's brilliant at leveraging his celebrity status to create high-profile, lucrative matches. But this strategy has its drawbacks. The persistent doubts about the authenticity of his victories and the quality of his opponents hinder his acceptance within the traditional boxing community. While Jake has undeniably brought new attention to the sport, the ongoing controversies and suspicions of referee bias cast a long shadow over his accomplishments. Despite his undefeated record, Jake's matches have often been criticized for lacking serious competition. The gap in experience and legacy between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson is enormous. Tyson has fought elite boxers like Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, and Larry Holmes. Jake? Not so much. This glaring disparity has been a hot topic leading up to the fight, with many wondering if Jake even stands a chance against a fighter of Tyson's caliber, even if Tyson is now 58. But the excitement for this fight is tempered by concerns over Tyson's health. Known for his tumultuous life outside the ring, Tyson's physical condition has been under intense scrutiny. In early May 2024, reports surfaced that Tyson had suffered a minor stroke, leading to the fight's postponement. Tyson's representatives confirmed this on June 3, 2024, raising serious questions about his ability to compete at a high level. On the other hand, Tyson's age and health issues are hard to ignore. Modern boxing is about conditioning as much as skill, and Tyson's 58 years might be a critical factor. Analysts like Max Kellerman argue that the cumulative effects of age and past health problems could severely limit Tyson's performance, making it unlikely for him to compete effectively against a younger, albeit less experienced, Jake Paul. And everything was going smoothly until Oscar decided to drop a bombshell that set the boxing world on fire. He straightly accused him of juicing up with steroids. With his usual intensity, Oscar proclaimed, "Jake Paul is juicing up with steroids, some really bad ones. He's not just cheating, he's endangering his health and the integrity of the sport." Oscar didn't stop at vague accusations. He named anabolic steroids like stanozolol and oxandrolone, both known for their muscle-building properties. According to Oscar, Jake's rapid transformation and sustained peak performance were red flags. He pointed out Jake's noticeable muscle gain and enhanced endurance, arguing that they seemed suspiciously unnatural. Seriously, Oscar de la Hoya's accusations against Jake Paul have ignited a broader conversation about PEDs in boxing and the need for stringent testing protocols. The boxing community is now grappling with these allegations, highlighting the importance of maintaining a clean and fair sport.